We're joined now by Arizona State women's volleyball coach JJ Van Niel. Coach, Pac-12 Coach of the Year. Obviously, a great season. Not over yet. The postseason, the NCAA Tournament, just a couple days away for you guys. But I do want to start with that Pac-12 Coach of the Year award and just what it means to you, and then just, I guess, the entire team, right? I think earlier today you said it really is an award for the entire team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, personally, I think it's an honor because it's voted, by your peers. We vote for the Pac-12 award, so it's nice that they recognize me, and I'm very thankful for that. But I think more importantly, it's at the end of the day, like, you're not winning a Coach of the Year if your team's not doing some good stuff. And this team has been really special since I walked in the door back in January of this year, and so I think it's really more of it's an award for them and all the hard work and grit and just everything they've done to be great and improve themselves. And they have. I mean, they've been awesome this year so far, and it's been really fun to watch them grow.
Absolutely. You talk about getting here in January. This program obviously needed a little bit of a revamp, and I feel like the moment that you got here, a new culture, a new level of play, and I think that has ultimately led to you guys having a phenomenal 26-6 season. Obviously, the number 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, a match on Friday against Georgia. But really, before we get into the postseason too much, for you as the head coach, when you get here, like, what goes into the idea of, like, okay, we have to change the way that this has been done in the past here? Or is that really kind of the thought process when you get to Arizona State University for the first season?
No, I mean, at no point did I ever ask him, like, how did you do things before? Like, for me, it was when I walked in the door, there was, I mean, one was just some vulnerability of, like, hey, I'm going to screw some stuff up, and I hope you guys will have a little grace with me because, we're just trying to get this thing going. But it was going to be first about building our culture. And, I'm very much a stats guy and all about training in the gym. Like, I love training, maybe even more than matches. And so that's, like, really important to me always in any gym I've ever been in. But right away I told him, like, hey, like, our first meeting was all about what we're going to do from just a culture standpoint, how we're going to build culture, and we're going to build relationships and trust, because without that, if you don't have trust, you can't really even have a culture, right? So and they were all in. It was cool, and I think it's really hard when you're in a program and someone comes in because that person didn't recruit you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really uncomfortable place for the athletes to be. And, I tried to remember that. I've been through a couple of other situations like that as an assistant coach, but with a new head coach in a new program. And it's a really, really uncomfortable place for the athletes to be. So I think trying to really build the relationships first was important to us as a staff. And then, of course, after a couple of weeks of going through stuff, we really started to implement, like, I did a deep dive of just all my stats geekiness and just said, hey, these are the things we're going to trade in the spring, and we'll continue next fall. And we think if we can get good in these areas, then we can put more wins on the board than we did last year. And that was kind of the extent of looking at the past, was just, here's where we were, and then here's where we need to be with some measurables. If you can measure it, then you can manage it. And that was kind of the extent, but it was never like, how did you do it before? I didn't want to go down that path. I think, that's not fair to the prior coaches even, you're not in their gym and you don't know what happened. So it was more about, this is where we are, this is where we want to go, and let's go do this.
Absolutely. You bring up culture, and obviously I think you see it kind of around Arizona State sports with different coaching staffs, different players, different rosters, and just the time it takes to instill a culture, whether that be in year 1 or even with a program that's in year 5 or 6. How would you describe the culture that you have with your roster?
I think our culture is one of the reasons why we're good, if I'm being honest. And, it's probably several years ago when I first got into college coaching, that like wouldn't have necessarily been something we talked much about. It was like, oh, these are the numbers. We got to pass better. We got to do this and this and this. But it's just a special group. And I think I was fortunate in that there was only 9 players here. So I think building sort of the things that were important to us, like relationships, like investing outside of the volleyball gym. We do quite a bit of stuff that's outside of volleyball together, which I think is important. But I think if you have a big group, it's maybe a little harder to get that implemented. So I think the fact that we only had 9 and they were just an unbelievable group that was just so fired up and ready to go. I'm not going to say it was easy because of course it's never easy. There's always challenges along the way, but I think it made it a lot more manageable to try to implement things quicker because of that group. And then the cool thing was they were able to bring all the things that we value in our culture and the new kids that came in, and they were able to kind of wrap them in, and the new kids have been phenomenal too. So like when I got, it's weird. Volleyball is weird because the end of April is the last time you get to work with them. And then you basically don't see them all summer, aside from when they come to camp. So you don't get to coach volleyball with them at all. And so we had our 9, and then we had 6 new people, and they were doing some stuff in the gym, open gyms or whatever in the summer. But like, I didn't get to see them until literally August, 8th, I think was our family day. And, to be able to go in on that day and even some of our systems were already kind of like the new kids kind of knew a little bit already. So that was cool to see, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
we have a pretty veteran team, but like they had already taken on our wings and kind of, this is what we do as a culture. And this is what we do in the gym. And we're kind of already, I don't know, got a little jump start there. So it's been a special group of kids that, I will for the rest of my career have the picture that's right there. Picture from our spring of like that first 9, and that'll never leave my desk. It's a special.
That's awesome. That is awesome. You bring up you're a numbers guy, right? So let's get into the numbers just a little bit, right? The 26 wins, the number 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, 18, I believe, in the rankings, depending on where you look. And then for the player awards, 5 players receiving honors, the most Sun Devils have had in a single season. For you, what has been the highlight, right? And I know the seasons that you guys still hopefully have a long ways to go, but for you to this point, was there ever a moment where you sat down and you were just like, man, that feels good?
After the Arizona match, I haven't really clicked on Kimber, and all of her press release has a 2023 milestones.
Yeah.
Just kind of all the whatever things we've done. And I've avoided it because I try not to just get wrapped. I mean, I didn't even pay attention to our ranking for the year. And I do it on purpose because any team you play has a shot at beating you. And so you got to be focused on who are you playing next? What do you have to do to get prepared for them? How do you get where are the areas that your team has to get better? And so on the way up on the bus, I clicked on it, and I think it's just been cool to see how many things the team has been able to, how many firsts the team has been able to accomplish. And it's a team thing, and just like having the best record that we've ever had in the Pac-12. I don't know. That was cool to me. I'm a Pac-12 guy my whole life. From when I was a kid, it was a Pac-10 growing up. I went to USC in the Pac-10, and then I've only coached in the Pac-12, and it's a really, really hard conference. And so I think knowing that we're going to end up with the best win-loss record in the Pac-12 that's ever been in Sun Devil history is kind of cool. But I don't know. For me, the special thing has just been the contributions from our team across the board. And there's kids that the fans don't necessarily see play in a match that are so important to us in our practice gym, and that make our passers better because they're ripping serves and they're really good at serving. And they're really good at defending, so it makes our hitters better because they understand tendencies and they go after them. And I don't know. That stuff's really special to me. So it's a team. I think that's the cool thing about this team is they are a team.
I think a lot of people, obviously, and rightfully so, talking about all the highs of this season, right? Obviously, first year head coach, Pac-12 coach of the year, all the player awards, the NCAA tournament just ahead. For you, though, as the head coach, what do you think has been the biggest challenge for you, or maybe the area that you feel like you've grown the most since you got here in January?
Uh, that's a good question. I think for me, it's not on the volleyball piece. It's not even on the relationships with the players piece. It's like managing my staff,
Mm-hmm.
and managing the program is probably the place where I've had to grow the most. And I'm still not there. I mean, I
Yeah.
tell my staff I'm sorry like way too often. Uh, they give me an unbelievable amount of grace because I'm pretty intense and very competitive and quite frankly a workaholic. So yeah, I think that's an area that I'm still trying to be better at and grow at. And I'm lucky I've got an amazing uh, staff around me. They're really special.
Most definitely. I think something that you and I talked a little bit off camera, looking forward to this matchup against Georgia on Friday. Just what is it going to take in your mind to take down a team in Georgia that has had a really good season as well?
Yeah, Georgia's good, and you're watching on video. They have Fisher. Their middle is getting almost 5 kills a set, which is crazy from a middle. But they run out of
Yeah.
the back row. They find ways to find her. So for us, it sounds very cliche, but the whole season, our wins are usually because we're serving really tough and because we're passing really well. We're not. I wouldn't say we're the most physical team
Mm-hmm.
at all. And so, in order to win volleyball matches, if you're not physical, you have to be really good with your ball control. So, our first contact's got to be really good. So, when they serve, we got to pass in system. If we do that, we can run our speed. The funny thing is, Georgia is very similar from the standpoint of they run a really, really fast ball to their pins, and then they find their middle a lot. So, I think for us, it's can we knock them off the net and serve receive to make it a little harder for them to run so fast to the left, and maybe a little more challenging for them to get the ball to their middles, which they do a really good job. Tom does a good job out there. So
It's definitely going to be a fun match on Friday. I know I'm looking forward to it. A lot of people here in the Valley are looking forward to it. Coach, last couple questions before we get you out of here. I know you are a very, very busy man. Just in terms of the support that you have seen from Sun Devil Nation thus far this season in your first year, what would you like to say to them in the way that they have, I feel like, treated your team so far this season?
I'm really, really grateful for the fan and alumni support that we've had literally since I walked in the door. I mean, some of my first texts when I got the job were from some very famous alum, which was really special. But we ended up, Kimber, we just found out last week, but we ended up 12th in the nation in attendance per game.
Wow.
We averaged over 3,000, I want to say it's like 3,200 people on average in our matches. And it's really, really special. I mean, I've said it before, like, I want this to be kind of a destination where people think of this like almost like men's basketball. Like, yeah, we're going to the volleyball game.
Yeah.
And, I think we can get there. And I think people around here are really passionate about volleyball. And I've really appreciated all the support. I love when I'm out and like people will stop me. I'm like, I'm a nobody. Like, I can't even believe they recognize me. But it's really cool because it just shows me how passionate. It's one of the reasons why I wanted this job, because I felt like this is an area where volleyball can matter and you have really, really passionate fans. And I love that. It's one of the reasons, like I said, I was so excited for this opportunity because every time I visited here on the other side and you walk around in your USC gear or Utah gear, like people are talking smack and awesome.
Yeah.
Like that's what you want. You want a group that's just fired up for ASU. And I feel like we have it. So thank you to all of our fans. It means so much. And when you guys come to matches, you have no idea what a difference it makes.
It's exciting. It's exciting, and I feel like it's only going to grow, obviously, as the season goes on and then as the years go on as well. Coach, before we get you out of here, going to kind of take it away from the ASU volleyball side of things for this last question. I'm curious, what is the best piece of advice that you have ever received?
Gosh. Man, you're catching me. I'm drawing a blank here.
Just some words of wisdom.
Yeah, I think one of my old bosses in my hedge fund days used to talk about. He called it the Wall Street Journal rule, you know, and it was kind of like if your actions were posted on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, you know, would your grandma or grandpa be proud of you or disappointed in you? And you know, he's like that's usually a pretty easy test when it comes to kind of making some decisions, you know. So
Yeah.
that's one that I don't know. I've always liked that, but so that's probably the one that comes to my head quickest.
Definitely words to live by. Coach JJ Van Niel, Pac-12 Coach of the Year, Arizona State volleyball coach. We appreciate you and best of luck in the NCAA tournament, Coach.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.